Have you ever wondered what it would be like to assemble the best possible current-day professional Overwatch team to try and take down Asia? Well, today, we're going to try and answer that question. I'm going to form my own personal OWCS non-Asia dream team that we could plug into current-day OWCS. The objective of this exercise? To go out there and be consistently competitive and/or try and win a championship against the best teams in current-day Korea and China. This year, we've seen a couple of upsets happen between Nightmare and Twisted Minds, both defeating Crazy Raccoon, and you could even throw Virtus Pro in there for beating Weibo Gaming. But the issue is, it's not consistent. Those are the only real notable wins that the West has over Asia, and I think it's about time we try and change that. So why not assemble the best NA and EMEA talents we have and combine their efforts to try and take down a greater foe? Does my team or any of the ones you assembled down in the comment section actually have a chance? Let's theorize about that, shall we? Don't worry about the logistics or the you can only have 2 import players at most rule. We're throwing that out the window. The only rule we're going to be following to the T is that you can only have 8 players at most on a roster. Oh, and one other thing real quick, big shout out to ObsSojourn and her amazing team. Without them, this video literally wouldn't be possible. Their wonderful POVs that they provide for the community are such a great tool, so please check out the YouTube and Twitter. I will leave them in the description. If all that sounds good to you guys, let's dive right into the roster construction. So the first thing we've got to do is establish a baseline. We need to have some kind of player to center this team around, and there's only one that comes to mind for me, and that's Quartz. He has got to be the star hitscan player of this team. No other hitscan even compares to his level. It's very advantageous to have a guy like Quartz on the team because he's already one of the best players in the world at his position, so it's a no-brainer to have him on here, especially knowing that outside of his skill set, that he already has a resume when it comes to defeating giants, if you will. It's literally 2 years in the making at this point. In the 2023 World Cup, he was a huge part of making that comeback a reality in the gold medal match against China. In 2024 in OWCS, we saw in DreamHack Sweden how his team was able to actually take a map off of Falcons, and a lot of it had to do with his efforts. And now just recently, a couple of months ago in the EWC, taking down Crazy Raccoon, starring throughout that entire match, outplaying Lip. Having such a rich history against top-level players like this is a no-brainer pick. He's going to be one of the leaders when it comes to performing when it really matters. He's never been one to shy away from the spotlight, and if he has space to work with, then you know he's going to pop off, and it's good to have something like that. It's very reassuring. He can be a leader through his gameplay. There's still room for him to continue to get better, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, he can play every hit scan under the sun at a very high level. I am confident this guy can be a carry in a lot of situations. Don't just think about the current meta and how that could affect him. Think about this theoretically from any standpoint. Who's going to give you the best chance to win? Quartz is one of those guys for sure. The question is, who's going to be Quartz running mate at Flex DPS? This is where there's more room to actually have some variance in who you pick. Maybe even pick 2 guys if you're not confident totally in the flexibility. Guys that stand out to me are Sugarfree, Kevster, and you could even throw in Zera, just because at his peak, we've seen how amazing he can be, and just like Quartz, he's also had some really amazing moments internationally, so not an easy choice here. It depends on preference, but in my opinion, the best player of the bunch still is Sugarfree. I think that SSG, it's just been an unfortunate situation for him this year, where the team around him hasn't quite been good enough. That's why they've struggled, and that's why they haven't really been all that relevant. I think if you put Sugarfree on a good team again, though, it's going to make a difference. We saw him carry All in Vain a lot of times throughout this season, so pair him up with a lot of players who won't put those opportunities to waste, and suddenly Sugarfree is going to be a star that everyone's talking about all the time again. A lot of people already still talk about how amazing he is, and how it's such a waste when he carries on SSG just for them to lose in depressing fashion. We can get rid of that altogether here and put him on a super team. Some people will say Sugarfree does have some limitations with his hero pool, and I think that's a fair criticism to have, But Sugar Free's a guy who can play with a lot of confidence, and I think that's important. He's a guy that you can trust to figure it out if there are things he needs to work on. He's always going to play not afraid no matter what the hero is because he knows he's really, really good. He has his strengths. He's an unbelievable tracer for Western standards. He's a nasty Genji. He can play Pharah Echo. He can play Mei for rush setups. He can play Reaper. And if push comes to shove, he can flex onto Sojourn a little bit as well for like those double sniper circuit royale purposes. He's got a diverse hero pool. He plays with confidence. He can be a leader that inspires the rest of this team, no doubt about it. And just like Court's, very deep experience. And you could argue he's been doing it for longer. This guy's been relevant for several, and I mean several years. He's been doing this since he was like 13 years old, playing against top level players and always putting up good performances. Sugar Free could be the leader and one of the best playmakers on this team for sure, and it just feels like a dream pairing him up with Quartz, so that's who I'm going with as my other DPS. So those two are probably going to be the starters on the team most of the time, like 90% of the time. Now, in the event that we do have a meta more like what we see now, where double flex DPS is kind of more the norm, I'd like to have another option coming off the bench. I think Kevster and Zera are both really good choices. You can make a good case for either of them, but I'm going to go with Zera just to change things up. He's probably not going to play all that much, but if the situation calls for his name, I think him and Lenny together could be absolutely electric. Just knowing that his hero pool is relatively similar, and he's going to be able to come in and fill in the missing holes, like if we need Sugar Free to go on to like a Sombra or something else random, let's say, then he can fill in for that role that Sugar Free would have played. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's a Giant Slayer. He's had some unbelievable moments in his OWCS career, so I think he makes for a good shout, but I could understand Kevster here as well. Okay, so that's our damage roll. Let's take a look at support and tank now, where I think things are a bit more challenging. Not necessarily as many options compared to DPS, where we have some big-time star players. Support is at least a little bit easier to me, so I'm going to start there. At the flex support role, I think there are some excellent options available. RuPaul's Overwatch League champion, Landon, and Ultraviolet have been amazing the last several years. There's choices here. That is for sure, and I think we need two of these guys. We need two of the three guys that I mentioned to make a successful team. With how things have been going, I don't know, the last year and a half or so, I feel the best option for the starting flex support role is Landon. In my opinion, he has been the best non-Korean, or I guess I should say Asian flex support in the world. On Alexia, he has been on an unbelievable run as a leader of his team. I thought I saw it all back in the London Spitfire and even SSG days, and that this might be where he peaks, but he's proven me wrong with the gameplay that I've witnessed on Alexia this year. He is a perfect match for this team as a person who has a very balanced playstyle, somebody who can pop off and take over when needed. We've seen a lot of random Kiri and Bat pop-offs from this guy throughout the years, but at the same time, he is someone who is very caring about his teammates, and he puts them in the best position to succeed always, and with the experience he has playing on multiple rosters throughout the years, he's just another good leadership figure to have on the team. Somebody that you can trust to always be consistent. That's what's great about Landon's game. This guy knows a thing or two about pulling off upsets and going further than he's supposed to be. That's a great quality to have, and with how things have been going this year, it's just great to have someone who's so good at Kiriko on the team. She's been an essential part of like every single meta. She's just in a very strong state right now, so it's good to have a guy like him to play her if needed. Not to mention the almost robotic nature of his Baptiste, absolutely cracked on that hero, and we've even seen him flex onto other things when the team needs him to, a little Lari, even some Brig. Landon is very willing to do whatever it takes to make his team have the best possible chance of winning games. I love the attitude he has. I love how confident he is. Landon is just a guy that you want to have on your team. So I'm more than happy to have him be the starting flex support. However, as much as I love Landon, I don't think his hero pool is totally complete. The big thing that's missing is his Ana. He's never played her all that much, and he's never been that amazing at her when he does. And Ana's one of those heroes that just comes and goes sometimes. She can be relevant, and if this team wants to play a little bit of dive here and there, it might be necessary to have her on the board, have her be playable, and that's where I think Ultraviolet comes into this. Much like Landon, he's been on a generational tear the last year or so in OWCS. He's grown into the best version of himself that I think we've ever seen, and he's always been a really solid Ana player. He's been a difference maker on that hero for a couple of different teams now. For Western standards, I'm not sure if it gets any better than UV as of right now. We saw him on NRG Shock make a huge difference, and some of those bio-nades and sleeps that he hit were the reason that NRG was able to come back and randomly upset Toronto Defiant. We've seen the difference he's made since then, a little bit on Nightmare, now here on Geek Esports. Dive has been a big-time identity of that squad, and his Ana has been very enabling for the rest of his team. UV can specialize in that Ana role for dive situations, but also, if need be, come into play alongside Landon. There's many scenarios where that could definitely be a viable strategy. We know Zenyatta can be involved sometimes with the meta, Bapalari, or Lari with some other random flex support. Very doable, maybe even some Juno as well. There's plenty of scenarios where these two could actually play together and combine their strengths to make this team even better. Now the question is, how do we round out this trio with a main support? In my opinion, there's not that many great options out there. Funny Astro is always a safe choice. Admiral's played reasonably well in recent memory. Kelix and AlexyOWL hasn't been that half bad. There's Lep, Vega as well. No options that really stand out as these unbelievable players, at least to me, but I think the safest pick is probably going to be Funny Astro. I figure there's already some built-in synergy because he has experience playing with both Quartz and Landon. Not to mention, he clearly has the deepest resume of any of the main support options out there. Funny Astro's been wildly successful in a lot of different setups. He's a guy that you can trust to be flexible and quickly learn and pick things up on how to be the best version of himself for whatever team he's on. Through Atlanta Academy, Philadelphia Fusion, LA Gladiators, SSG, and now Twisted Minds, he's always had some very good moments that you can look back on fondly. That's an important quality to have when it comes to team fit, so I'm more than happy to add Funny Astro onto the squad here. He knows what it takes to be successful, he knows what it takes to be a champion and win big tournaments because he's done it so many times before, and he still remains relatively good throughout all of these years of competing. In the hero pool, I mean, it gets the job done. He doesn't have to do everything because, again, we have two flex supports on the team, so he doesn't have to worry too much about the coverage, and he can just focus on what he's the best at. Lucio has been prevalent a lot this year, so just having him play his signature hero is always a plus. I don't think he's perfect. I mean, there's some inconsistencies with like Brig and Juno in his hero pool, let's say, but I think he's adequate and he gets the job done, and if need be, he can be subbed out, but bare minimum, we've got our guy on Lucio. So that fills in our support and DPS roles. We have some big players across the board here. Now we just have to finish it off, round it off with two solid tank options. In my opinion, tank doesn't have that many amazing options, but there's some guys that are going to be consistent. You could go with Ziad if you wanted to. The guy on the rise, the young tank player who's had some unbelievable matches on AlexyOWL. You can go with Kuffa, who's never one to shy away from the big moments. There's Infected, who's young, has a lot of potential, might be the most flexible of the players available. There's Vastola, there's KSA, two guys who are well-experienced veterans at this point in their career. There's enough if we pick two of them to make a reasonably solid tank line. The question is, who do we go with? I feel like there needs to be a balance. We need somebody who's very strong in the dive role, and then someone who can specialize in more of like the rush and slow-paced setups. I thought about this through two avenues. The one that I decided not to choose was an Infected Ziad combo. I felt like going with a couple of young players with a lot of potential could be exciting. Infected, he could handle a good bunch of the workload. He can even play Wrecking Ball as well, which is a nice plus. And Ziad just seems like he's on his way to being a very special player. Someone who can play Ram, Orisa, and D.Va extraordinarily well. But I didn't want to go with the young players. I felt like it was better to go the experience route. That's kind of been the theme of this team. So I've decided to go with Kuffa and KSA as my tanks. And yes, this is a big reason why this video is not called the Western Dream Team, but instead just a non-Asia, because my boy Kuffa's out there in Australia. Gotta represent, but I'm glad to have him on the team. It's a very welcome addition. I think that he goes under the radar by some fans to this day, despite having some really good performances since joining OWCS. This guy has just fought his way through the ranks, a lot of the time being underappreciated throughout the years, like in the Overwatch League days, never getting that opportunity to shine, and even in his first year in OWCS, he wasn't always playing on the best team, but now he's finally found his home on Geekay, and he's been unbelievable in that role. It goes to show what happens when you give the right players an actual chance. They shine, especially playing with so many guys he's already familiar with, and then we can at least somewhat replicate that here by having him play a little bit with Ultraviolet from time to time. Kuffa's main role on this team is going to be the dive specialist. He's going to be the one to up that tempo, play super fast, and with a ton of confidence on Winston and Hazard. Those are the two main things that I want out of him. His Winston has come so far in such a short amount of time. It truly is terrifying. And his Hazard, I mean, that character gets a lot of playtime right now, and he's definitely one of the best Hazards I've ever seen in my life. You could argue he actually is the best in the world. I'm sure some people will. He truly is that terrifying on that hero. We saw him absolutely demolish some elite teams in that role. Even Crazy Raccoon had a hard time with it. So yeah, that's something that I'd like to have on my team. And in general, he is at least somewhat flexible. I want him to specialize more so in the dive role, but he can play other things. He's done it a lot, not just on Geekay, but throughout his entire career. He's played in a ton of roles. He's shown a lot of flexibility. I know he can play the Rush, the Ramatra, the Orisa, all that stuff he can cover to a certain extent as well. So that's what you want. Somebody who can come in to specialize on the one thing, but flex if there needs to be a change. He's very versatile. Not to mention that he's a big energizer. If you've seen him on stage, he's one to get the crowd pumped up and his teammates too. He's always getting out of his chair. He lives for the excitement, and that's what you want. You want a motivator on your team, and I think he can very successfully fulfill that role and get the rest of his teammates hyped. And for the remaining holes, let's say more so in like the rush or the slow-paced setup, I want KSA on the team. You could argue he's maybe a little out of his prime and there's other options you can go with. It's totally understandable, but I still think KSA is a really good player who can turn it up when it matters. He's just another guy who's very deeply experienced. He was a part of the 2023 World Cup team as well that pulled off the upset. He's shown dominance on several teams throughout his career, and he can just focus purely on his strong points. And those strong points are playing the Ramatra, which he is very dominant and fundamentally sound on, going on the Diva, where maybe you could argue he's not top tier, but still relatively consistent, and we know what he's capable of when he gets to practice a lot of Sigma. KSA can cover a lot of those bases, and him and Kuffa don't have to get in the way of each other. They can both contribute certain strengths to the team to make it better. And I mean, come on, KSA's been doing this for so long. He's already pulled off upsets in his career. He plays with a lot of poise. He's a very fierce competitor, and the guy's just a winner. I want a winning culture feel from all of the guys on my team, and I think KSA helps complete that. He's someone who loves to win at all costs, and he is going to go out there and be animated when the game's on the line, hold people accountable, and make sure that everybody's on the same page and in the right place. KSA rounds out the team super nice, and overall, he gives the team the kind of vibe I want, where every player from support to DPS to tank can all contribute successfully, but it also feels like there is a pecking order to it where there's going to be certain guys that you play around and others will be more so the complementary pieces, but when those big playmakers aren't always able to step up, you're going to see the other guys make a difference. It feels like every player on this squad has a history of being clutch and a lot of experience. I don't have to worry about the what ifs because all these guys have already been in successful scenarios in their careers. Could this team be a Giant Slayer that pulls off an upset and has a chance at winning a World Finals in a big tournament? Or at the very least, could they be one of the better teams if we threw them directly into Korea right now? I'd like to say that, at least with the Korea part, they'd be competitive, they'd be very fierce, and they could give just about anybody a run for their money. I just don't know if they'd be good enough to win a championship, just because when Falcons and Crazy Raccoon are at their best, they are pretty hard to beat. Without any type of Korean firepower, that's kind of just been how big competitions like this have gone. But again, I'd like to think with this team, we'd at least have a chance of pulling off an upset against one of them bare minimum. But what do you guys think? Do you think this team is good, or could I have changed something up to make it even better? Let me know what you would do differently down in the comments below, and if you want more Dream Team videos like this back on the channel, I know it's been a very long time, make sure to let me know and give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.